modern world was able to, once again, read the Kemetic language, it was because of the original of this. This is actually in the British Museum. This is a model of it, right? So you can see it's the same language written in 3 different ways. And that's the reason why they were able to translate. Because down here, we have Greek. And they knew how to read Greek. So then what they could do is they could say, wait a minute. Here goes the Demotic form of the Kemetic language, and here's the hieratic form of the Kemetic language. So what they could do is they could say, wait, if we're able to figure out what's being said in each of these, we can begin to unlock how to read the language again. And some people would say that there are at least 2 scholars that did most of the work. One of them was Jean-Francois Champollion. The other one was a scholar, younger, right? And I think sometimes we give them credit, but I think we also have to recognize that the same people who extinguished the language were Europeans. So sometimes you can give people too much credit for trying to clean up something they've done, right? Just a little much credit. I mean, they're the ones that stopped us from being able to read the language. And at least later Europeans were the ones that got back to it. We can easily see the 3rd century that the language becomes extinguished at the hands of at least 2 or 3 Roman emperors, one of them known as Theodosius, who said in his decree that no one will be able to practice any form of spirituality that was considered pagan. And he included in that the Kemetic tradition. And so at that time we see a priest in a temple in southern Kemet write the last inscription, and he says, after I write this, there are none after me. Which means he's the last person that can do it. That same temple is hardly desecrated. We see faces carved, we see images carved out, images of the Neset room, we see crosses, it was used as a church. We know what actually happened afterwards. And so that's how the language becomes extinguished. This is how it is reclaimed. And then over here, I want you to see another model. And that's about the right size as how of the actual artifact. That one is known as the Palette of Narmer. Say palette. Palette of Narmer. Narmer is the first king of Kemet, also known as Menes. And I want you to recognize that that document is considered by most scholars to be the first historical document. It describes how Narmer actually comes and puts Kemet back together. Puts Kemet together. Put the two countries that were separate together. And I think it's so important that he does this. And most documentaries will describe him, but guess what they won't do? They will not show you his face. You might think, wait a minute, we have his face? I think there's a reason why they don't show his face. I mean, when you see that nose, when you see his lips, when you see his cheekbones, it should be very clear who we're referring to. That this was put together by an African. But as long as they don't show you his face, they can say that they're anybody else. By the way, this piece right here is just on a shelf in a museum in London. It's not even a position, it's on a shelf. I was looking for it and I walked past. That's how amazing this story is, that the pieces are all over. But who should we expect to go to look for? Should it not be those Africans who are looking for their own image, their own place in the world? And so this is why it's so incredibly critical for us to come to places like this. Before we leave this room, just take a look at some of the writing implements here. I just want you to do something. You are seeing the world's first historic document. You're seeing writing implements of a people that we've been told have no history. This is one of the greatest lies ever told. By coming to places like this, you will be able to undermine, undo, and refute it. Let's move to the other side.
Undo and refute it.